Sometimes the most powerful way to control someone isn't yelling, threatening, or forcing them. It's making them feel guilty for saying no. And once you notice this pattern, some conversations you remember may suddenly look very different. Imagine someone says, "After everything I've done for you, you can't even do this one thing?" Technically, they asked for a favor, but emotionally, they just made your refusal feel like a betrayal. That is the basic idea behind emotional blackmail, using fear, guilt, obligation, or emotional pressure to influence someone's behavior. And the disturbing part is that it can happen without the person ever raising their voice. Psychologist Susan Forward popularized the term emotional blackmail and described patterns involving fear, obligation, and guilt. In everyday life, that pressure can sound like, "If you really loved me, you would do this." Notice what just happened. Conversation stopped being about the request and became a test of your love, loyalty, or character. Suddenly, saying no feels like proving that you're a bad person. Sometimes the pressure is fear. If you leave, you'll regret it. If you tell anyone, I'll never forgive you. The message underneath is simple: do what I want, or something emotionally painful will happen. Other times, it sounds like obligation. I sacrificed so much for you. You own me. Now your past becomes a debt, and the person expects you to pay it whenever they make a demand. Then there's guilt. This is especially powerful because guilt can make people police themselves. You might think, maybe I'm being selfish, maybe I should just give in. And emotional blackmail doesn't always sound dramatic. Sometimes it's silence, coldness, withdrawal. Someone suddenly becomes distant after you say no, hoping you'll become uncomfortable enough to change your answer. Here's where the pattern can become powerful. You say no, they become upset. You feel guilty, you give in. The tension disappears, and your brain learns something important. Giving them what they want makes the discomfort stop. That doesn't mean you're weak. Humans naturally care about relationships, approval, and avoiding conflict. When emotional pressure creates enough discomfort, giving in can feel like the fastest way to restore peace. And that temporary peace can accidentally reinforce the behavior. If someone pressures you and eventually gets what they want, there's little reason for them to change the strategy. But here's the twist. Not every emotional reaction is emotional blackmail. Someone being hurt, disappointed, or angry after hearing no does not automatically mean they're manipulating you. The important question is what happens next. Can they accept your boundary? Can they communicate their feelings without punishing you? Or do they repeatedly make you feel afraid, guilty, or responsible for their emotions until you surrender? Look for repetition. One emotional conversation proves very little. A recurring pattern, pressure, guilt, withdrawal, threats, then compliance, is much more revealing. So what can you do? Start by slowing the conversation down. You don't have to answer immediately. Try saying, "I understand that you're upset, but I still need to think about this." And here's something surprisingly important. You don't always need to build a courtroom case for your boundary. The more you argue about whether your no is justified, the more opportunities there are for someone to attack your explanation. Instead, keep it calm and clear. "I hear what you're saying, but I'm not comfortable doing that." You can acknowledge someone's feelings without accepting their demand. Then watch what happens. A healthy person may disagree, feel disappointed, or ask questions, but they can still respect your decision. A manipulative pattern often escalates when the first tactic doesn't work. Emotional blackmail isn't about one guilty sentence. It's about a repeated pattern where someone's emotions become a tool for controlling your choices. So, the next time you feel an overwhelming need to say yes, pause and ask yourself, do I actually want to do this, or am I trying to escape the guilt, fear, or pressure I feel right now? Because sometimes the clearest sign that you're being pressured isn't what the other person says, it's what happens inside you when you imagine saying no. If your first thought is, "What will happen to me if I don't?" that question may be worth paying attention to.